Hey guys, Mr. Benchwork here with kind of a unique video here today. This video is the Forney Museum of Transportation. It's basically on the outskirts of Denver, Colorado. Really cool museum. So, in addition to trains, there are cars, there are planes. Basically, if you can ride it or fly it, they have it. Kind of an interesting place. Obviously, the big draw is the big boy they have stuffed in the corner, but there's a lot of really interesting stuff to see here. So I'm going to go ahead and give you kind of a tour through most of it, um, and then I will have a separate video for the model railroad that is actually on property as well. So when I do switch from the trains to the automotive stuff, I will put a break in the video just so if you're not interested in that, you know you can safely stop watching at that point. But that said, I'm happy to have you along for the ride and enjoy what we have in store for you. Thanks for watching. Okay, so apparently there was some copyright music within the rest of this video, so I'm going to have to narrate a little bit to keep you guys interested. So the Forney Museum is open 5 days a week. It's closed on Tuesday and Wednesday. Currently, admission is $17 for adults. Uh, Kids are between 3 and 12 or $9, and then under 3 is free. Parking is free. And quite honestly, there's just a lot of stuff in this museum. So, the big boy is kind of an interesting deal because this is one of the ones that they actually crashed. Um, so there's a big blurb about it on the website, and I'm not going to read that. But long story short is somebody flipped the switch right in front of the locomotive just before they got to the switch, so they didn't have time to slow down or stop. It hit the switch about 50 miles an hour and ended up laying over on its side, pulled the entire locomotive over on its side, pinned a couple of the guys who were in the cab, destroyed the cab actually, among other things, and it was kind of a big hot mess. Anyway, UP ended up obviously repairing the locomotive, and to be completely frank, I didn't know that it had been crashed at any time from what I looked at it. Honestly, when I went and saw this museum, I was really quite wondering why the Union Pacific didn't choose this locomotive to restore because it's in wonderful condition from what I could tell. But anyway, it's been fully restored. It was operational at the end of its life, as far as I'm aware, and it's just kind of a testament to the engineering that something that weighs 600 tons can fly off a piece of track at 50 miles an hour, go sliding down a hill, and they throw it back on the tracks, repair it, and off she's going again. So maybe there's something to be said about it being so big that it kind of protected itself by being that big. But anyway, it's kind of an interesting story. There's a lot of other interesting locomotives and equipment there. They've got one of the rotary snow blowers there. I don't know that it would ever be operational, but it seemed to be in good repair. It was well painted. That's further along in this video as well. And then there's some more modern stuff. I think there's a GP9 in there and a couple other things. They also have some older Pullman cars. I think they have a Ringling Brothers car in there as well. It's honestly this place for train people is really good because it's all it's all indoors, so it's heated and air conditioned depending on the season. That helps maintain the equipment and allows you to explore in comfort. As you're seeing right now, there's a lot of places where you can actually get up into the equipment and take a look around. And honestly, this was probably the highlight of the whole trip for me, was just being able to get up into this locomotive to see something that, quite frankly, I will very likely never ever see in real life with UP 4014 exploring the rails all over the West now that they have it converted to oil. Um, but yeah, no, just seeing all the levers and buttons and all the doodads that I have no idea what they do. Thankfully, they have a lot of this stuff labeled, but it's just incredibly, incredibly cool to be able to see this stuff as up and close and personal as this museum really allows you to do that. And it's not just the trains, but the cars and stuff. At one point, I was walking around and go, "Wait a minute! I've replaced an engine in one of those. Why is that here in a museum?" And then I realized, oh, it's like 50 years old at this point. So it's just really, really an interesting museum. Um, so in addition to the trains, they also have cars. They have planes. They have a pretty extensive motorcycle collection as well, which I thought was kind of interesting. But everything is basically fully restored. As far as I know, it's all operational as well. And if it's not, I'd be really surprised because it's whoever runs this museum has really spent a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of effort to make it what it is. It really is kind of a treasure, and should get more attention than it does. Um, so, as I was saying, in addition to the museum here, there is also a model railroad club that operates within the building. It's N scale. The model itself is 20 feet by 100, which is for N scale. That's a lot of space. And that, like I said, that's going to be a separate video. But that was really neat, and just getting in there to see that as well. I just happened to get lucky. They happened to be there and had it open for people to walk around. So, that was kind of a good opportunity. So these train cars here, one of the nice things about this museum is they have everything lit up so you can actually see what's going on inside the rail cars, and that's something that a lot of rail museums they don't do, just for practicality's sake, because most of their equipment's outside. But having lights on so you can see the table settings, you can see the beds, you can see the chairs, and the how the baggage car works and all of this kind of that. It was really really interesting. You also notice that we're walking by. They actually have a pretty extensive collection of the plateware and silverware and all the other branded equipment. So it's it's a really interesting, diverse collection. I guess I'll say. So another thing that you'll find within this museum is just the sheer amount of information. They have information placards for basically everything, and whoever wrote them was very long-winded. So I tried to stop along the way and hold on to these things in frame long enough so you could pause the video and read them if you want to. But needless to say, there's a lot of information here. It's really, quite frankly, overwhelming. But a super interesting museum, and if you ever get out to the Denver area, in addition to checking out this museum, obviously the Colorado Railroad Museum is a great place to go, and I'll have a video on that as well. When I did this trip, this was actually over Labor Day weekend in 2022. I'm just getting around to editing these videos now, unfortunately. But when I was in Colorado for Labor Day weekend, I actually ended up visiting 8 different spots. Obviously, I made my way down to Durango, so I got the Durango and Silverton line and made some videos there. I ran and did a bunch of other stuff as well. So I visited the Argo Mines. I went to the Air and Space Museum, which actually isn't too far from this one. I went to Cripple Creek Railroad, which was actually kind of the highlight and was a last minute decision. Um, I'm very much looking forward to sharing that video with you guys. I enjoyed that one enough that I actually wrote it twice so I could film it from different angles and get different angles of the conductor and everything. Because that one was kind of a fun trip. So I also went to the Leadville Railroad, beautiful railroad and some great views. If you ever do make it out to Leadville, especially in the fall, so probably late September, early October, before the snow flies, if you can. It's going to be an absolutely gorgeous view there, worth the time and effort. I also went to the Loop Railroad. I forget what the actual name of it is, but really another cool uh, live steam railroad that it's kind of a railroader's dream come true to drive around the state of Colorado and visit all these places. This is stuff that you really don't see a whole lot in museums nowadays. They don't have the the funding really to be able to restore these cars into the like new condition that you're seeing here. And the wide variety of equipment. So there's little rail runners and little maintenance away equipment, and a, a crane here. This is I forget if this is steam or if it's diesel electric. I think this one's steam actually. But obviously it's all in really really good condition. I don't know if it's actually operable or not, but it's cleaned up in a way that it really helps tell the story of what it is or was, and how it helped build America, as it were. So one of the things that I did find kind of interesting about this museum is typically when you go through a museum, you'll see one or two areas where there's equipment that's being worked on, or things where there's tools piled up where they're actively um, you know doing things off hours to repair or adjust or whatever the equipment, and none of that was here. If it's here, I'm not quite sure where they're hiding it. But it's in that respect, it was kind of interesting because it's all of the stuff is just in really really superb condition. Um, Obviously, you know, a lot of paint makes things what they ain't, but in at least in this presentation, it helps, especially younger folks, understand the history of what went on. Just being able to walk up and touch the rivets that held these giant things together, and read the stories behind them, and and all that sort of thing. So just kind of really kind of a cool situation. So we're getting close here to the end of our railroad content. We got another couple minutes here. Um, but I wanted to make sure that I gave you guys something to listen to while you're watching through this video. Here's the front of that rotary. Um, you really can't tell here on video, but that thing is enormous. So imagine a fan blade that is a, between 10 and 12 feet in diameter standing in front of you. So I don't even come up to the center of the hub on that thing height wise. And then here you got the running gear for the big boy next to me. And I mean, I'm holding this camera roughly at eye level. It just gives you an idea of just how large this stuff is. And they designed and built all of this stuff in a time where computers didn't exist, where they had to do the math and engineering by hand and by simple calculators. They none of this stuff just, came off a machine, by pressing a few buttons. All this stuff had to be made by hand. Um, so just understanding that perspective and what it took to engineer these marvels really, just really gives you a better understanding of how far we've come, even since the 1950s. These things were, the big boy in particular, those things were running on the rails, only 50, 60 years ago. You've got parents and grandparents that aren't that old. It's just really cool. So anyway, that's the end of the train content. From here on out, it's going to be a lot of cars, a lot of motorcycles. There are a few airplanes mixed in as well. But there's a lot of content here. There's a car from Amelia Earhart somewhere in here. There's a lot of history, a lot of stuff that I really hadn't seen before. So the you want to see where Dodge started and where Chevrolet and Ford and all those, they have, you know, this is a Nuremberg. I have never even heard of it before. There's a lot of interesting vehicles here. I believe this might be the Amelia Earhart one. So, and it's lovingly restored, and it's got a sidecar of all things. All this weird technology that you never would think would exist, and it did. So anyway, feel free to check out the rest of the video. I'm going to end the narration here. So the rest of the video will be silent, unfortunately, due to copyright issues. But please enjoy, and I will see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.